Welcome to our webinar about asset tracking in transport and logistics. My name is Pieter Jan and I'll be your host for today. We have a busy program, so let's dive into it. We have first Kristoff, our CEO, who will talk about the challenges in transport and logistics. Then we had Stéphane, who was supposed to talk about DHL and how we help them to manage 1 million assets, but Stéphane missed his plane, so we have Kristoff as a backup. It's a live webinar, so these things can happen. And then we have Peter, our product lead, who will talk about the technologies behind the use cases. And to finish off, we have Michiel and Lucas to talk about more use cases, because that's what we would like to get some focus on. But we start with Kristoff. Welcome, Kristoff, in this webinar. Let's get started immediately. I give you 30 seconds to pitch Sensolus. This is the elevator pitch. Go.
Elevator pitch. You're a logistics company. You have massive amount of assets which are carrying your load. Can be trailer, can be boxes, can be whatever you need. So you can imagine you want to follow them up. Traditional telematics is quite complex. So what we deliver is something simple. It's a battery power tracker, easy to install, quite affordable, works for 5 years. And what you get is visibility through our platform on a smartphone. Similar as telematics, but just built for non-powered assets and much more affordable. DHL is using it, Airbus, Atlas Copco, and many others. So why aren't you?
Stop the clock. 30 seconds, that was a nice pitch, but let me do some fact checking here.
Okay.
You didn't mention the 1 million connected assets, but it's for DHL, so we will talk about that later in this webinar.
Correct.
We have more than 500 clients worldwide. That's also something interesting to know. We have more than 15 years of experience, and altogether we have more than 60 partners who help us. And we'll also talk about our partners in this webinar.
We will.
Now, on the website, I read this. We are the global market leader in visibility for assets that have no wires and no power. Explain to me. What do we mean with assets that have no wires and no power?
We call them the non-powered assets. Okay. So everything we build is because we have to make something digital that does not have energy itself. So we cannot just plug the electricity and get abundant of energy to get data and so on. So we're really on assets where we have nothing of energy, so we have to bring a device which is battery powered, which actually creates that connectivity.
I put some on screen. These are the assets you're talking about.
Yeah, correctly. There's a lot of them, and in our sector, it's mostly we call them in the wide in transport and logistics, the returnable transport packaging. Okay. So there are assets which can be reused every time for loops, what we call them, going back and forth to actually carry the load of your process.
And this is how they look like in real life.
And they're all different types. So it's very important to understand there is no single type of transport packaging. They're all different types, and it's by doing and being out there you learn all those different, let's say, subtle things between all those different assets.
All right, so we track a lot of different type of assets, but in this webinar, transport and logistics, we will focus on RTPs, boxes, pallets, trailers, but also cooler trucks, for example. Now, you asked me to bring a picture of a bike in a warehouse to continue this webinar. Explain me, what is the story about this bike?
Well, it's one of the stories that made me very happy as CEO and founder of the company, because you can bring the best technology, but in the end you want to help really people in their daily business. Why do I bring this picture? Because we were working for a customer and they were really losing a lot of things in their yard, but really it was everywhere. So every time there was somebody who need to take the bike, go around and find, even in really cold weather, somewhere on the yard, that single asset that they just need at that moment in the production process. For me, it was great. We rolled out the technology, and that person came to me and told me, hey, Kristoff, you changed my life because I don't have to bike every day.
So he sits behind his desk now.
Yeah, true. No, but he was certainly referring to the cold weather days when he was. It's not about the sunny days.
Yeah, I get it. Now, coming to the end of the intro, you brought two main challenges in transport and logistics today. The first one is the macroeconomical situation. Second one is the type of assets, because there's a lot of differentiation between them. And last is the sustainability aspect. First one, macroeconomical. I think it's clear what we see on the picture, but a bit of context maybe?
Well, I think when you look around, the whole system of supply chain has changed drastically. And that's because there are hiccups, there are geopolitical things going on. Even now, internationally, you have tariffs coming up. So everybody wants to be agile.
Okay.
If you want to be agile, you just need a lot of visibility because otherwise you cannot change. And that's where we kick in. We bring that visibility.
All right. Yeah, clear. The second one was the different type of assets in transport and logistics and the context where they are in.
Yes, because I already mentioned all different types of assets, all different types of form factors. Where can we put something? But also, are they indoor? Are they outdoor? Are they on my side, let's say your yard, which you control, or are they just in the outer world? So there's a huge complexity where you have to fit the right technology to the right asset.
I can also imagine that a small asset or a big asset is also a difference in tracking because you have to mount a tracker on it and it makes
Exactly. Sometimes you can be in a trailer of a very low value where you have a lot of them, and other cases you have a very small box with a very unique content. So it's always what is the type of asset, different sizes, different locations, and how do we track them? And there we are quite specialized.
All right, I think Peter will later during this webinar talk about the different type of trackers we have to make it a bit more clear. But okay, and last one, but not the least one, is the sustainability aspect.
It's probably the most important one. All our customers, first they transferred from non-returnable packaging, so one-way packaging, to returnable transport packaging. And that's for sustainability.
Okay.
How can we use recycled material in our packaging and create those loops? But then it comes with visibility because you need the material to get it back in your transport. And we also see a lot of legal changes. So there's like new regulation coming up to actually promote and to incentivize companies to really work on this, to do more with less packaging. And that's what we enable.
That's where asset tracking comes in place.
Yeah, correctly.
Let's make it very specific. So we have a use case, Deutsche Post and DHL. I don't think we need to introduce them. Everyone in transport logistics should know about them. What do we exactly do with them? What is the use case there for DHL?
Yeah, so we're specifically looking at Germany. So what they do, you have to imagine every day they do 40 million letters. And normally 6 to 7 million parcels daily. In peak periods, they even go to 10 or even 11 million parcels every day. So what you see, those rolling cages or roll containers, they are the heartbeat of that system. Because I have approximately 1 million of them and they're traveling throughout the whole system. So if you want to optimize such a complex thing in those volumes, you need perfect visibility in the end.
And in that case, we have a nice quote from client from DHL. She's saying that collaboration between Alpine and Sensolus has really proven effective over the past several years, and it's impossible to imagine their work processes without it. So questions I have, Alpine and several years. Well, we're talking about a long time.
Yes, because you can imagine, look at the case, 1 million of those rolling cages moving to, I think, more than 120 sites. They go in uncontrolled control. It's a complex thing, you know, and there's not just like a solution that one size fits all, plug it in and it works. So it's on the partnership, and I would also like to mention Sigfox here, because they have been involved from the early days to get that network up and running. So it's all those partners bringing a part of the puzzle to make this work. And this is why now DHL has a solution that perfectly fits to their needs.
If you would summarize this use case, let's say in 3 main topics, we have the long-lasting and robust trackers was important for them. We have the scalability and the integrated solution. Maybe starting with the first one. What do we mean by that?
Yeah, those are crucial elements, and it's through the learning with the partners that you find out. So first of all, let's start with robust trackers.
Okay.
I can tell you, those rolling cages, they get hit. It's really heavy.
I'm thinking about all my packages that I
we all got our package with, we have to send it back. No, but this is really about heavy hits, so you need a tracker that is shock resistant day after day. Long lasting, 7 years minimum. On a single battery. Why? Because if you look at the volume, you cannot swap in and swap out every year new trackers. It needs to last, or the ROI is just not there. So it's a quite complex, it sounds easy, complex to get there. Scalability, there's actually, think it from two directions. First of all, if you have to go to that type of volumes, you have to install fast. Fast installation means it comes, you put it, 2 rivets, fixed, and it works.
You stick it like a sticker. As
Exactly. It also means that you have to pre-initiate or pre-populate those trackers. You cannot put SIMs and battery. You don't have time for that. You need to move very fast, or you cannot go into that process. But then something a lot of people underestimate, those rolling cages at certain moments are hundreds of thousands at a single location. Well, it's very dense. It's like your Wi-Fi at home when you have all your kids and the friends playing on the iPad, everything goes down. So there's the same problem here in scalability, and it's solved by the partners.
Yeah.
Last point, integrated. Technology does nothing in the end. It brings data and visibility, but it has to go in the planning. It has to be in the daily operations. And there the team of DHL did a full integration over the cloud.
To finish this use case, maybe a last quote from the client. They said that they can now react flexible to different parcel volumes, and without rolling cage tracking, this would simply not be attainable for them.
Well, I mentioned the numbers. If you look at those numbers, huge. Absolutely. To be honest, all those transactions daily, easily 50 million transactions daily. Imagine as a company you implement an ERP system. Once you get your digital view, you cannot just go out because you've been changing your process, optimizing your process, changing steps. So for them, it's now the heartbeat of their system.
All right. The use case is also on the website, by the way. So if you want to read more about it, just go to the website, or of course, you can always contact us. Thanks a lot, Kristoff, for this intro. I would say let's switch over to the next speaker of today, which is Peter. Peter is our product manager leads.
Hey, Pieter-Jan.
Welcome, Peter. We talked about some use cases, but I would say let's dive into the technology that goes behind these use cases. And you brought this overview slide to begin with. So
Exactly. So this is, let's say, our way to guide our users and our customers a bit into the technology, because it's an Internet of Things technology. There's many things possible, but it's quite a complicated thing to navigate. So we'd like to make it clear that you have solutions based on smart trackers and you have solutions based on tags and smart gateways.
Smart trackers is the solution we just saw from DHL.
Exactly. That's one thing we saw, where you have a smart tracker mounted on the asset. And why do we call it smart? Well, plenty of reasons actually, right? So first of all, it's completely independent, right? It has its own battery and it has its own connection to the cloud, which means that you don't need extra infrastructure to make it work. There's no gateways or IT required there. Right? It's also smart because it's not just a GPS tracker. When you put it indoors where GPS doesn't work, it's able to use different technologies and then to fall back to different ways to localize.
That's referring to what Kristoff just said about the context of the asset, indoor, outdoor. You have a blend of technologies that enable both scenarios.
Exactly, you definitely need that, right? And then it's very configurable, because for one customer you need faster refresh rates than the other, or you balance that with your battery power. And you can also even connect different sensors to these smart trackers that you can extend the use case and have more types of data, such as temperature and humidity in your solution.
We collect a lot of data through the trackers. Where can we access it? Pretty simple, I think.
Pretty simple. I'd say the most straightforward solution is that we have the platform, our internet platform, where you access the application, right? And then other ways are as well. You can use a mobile app to access some data, or you can integrate it with other systems, depending on your capabilities, and then you access the data, as Kristoff also mentioned, in the planning systems, in the reporting systems. So you can kind of make a choice there.
All right. Later during this webinar, Lucas will give a short demo of a couple of the features. Now let's just walk through some features that we know are important for our clients in transport and logistics. Starting with the first one, finding assets in seconds.
So that's your basic need, and that's, let's say, the easiest one to understand for everybody, actually. You search for your asset and you know where it is. So typically you access that through a map and with list views where you can access the details. All right. Once you have found your asset, maybe you don't want to know exactly where it is now. But you also want to see, in the past, what route did it take? Maybe there's some investigation that you need to do, maybe some complaints to handle. So that obviously you also have.
All right.
Next part is not just thinking about asset, but talking about specific locations. We call that geozones. Some companies also call it geofences, kind of equivalent wording, which you mark an area on the globe, and then depending on whether the assets are in or out, automatically the system can, for example, make up an inventory of all the things that are there.
So geozone is a warehouse, for example?
Can be a warehouse, can be a parking lot, can be your customer, can be a lot of things, like a place of interest, right? It's a logical name that makes it recognizable, because we don't take in coordinates or in addresses.
And once you created geolocation, you can also get some numbers.
And then, of course, you can start zooming into that, and a more advanced analysis case is, for example, when you start to analyze, I'm looking at a specific, let's call it warehouse, and then we want to find out, which of the assets are actually staying there for too long,
Yeah.
right? And we call it dwell times. If it's
Yeah.
maybe here, staying there for more than 10 days, maybe something to investigate because it might point to inefficiencies that we need to solve.
Yeah,
Right?
all right.
Other ways to look at it is for that specific zone, you want to discover where are these assets coming from and where are they going to? And does that match your expectation? Because something we often kind of forget is before you start tracking, you have an assumption of how things are working, but that might not be the case.
Yeah.
So
All right.
mapping the facts to the expectation is a very important part.
In the face, you see what it
Exactly,
actually
and
is
then you
doing.
really start to discover.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And another thing which is more beyond just location that we can enable with these smart trackers is by knowing when and how much it has traveled, because they are smart, they kind of sense when they are moving versus when they are standing still. We can cook up like analytics, for example, here for one particular asset.
Yeah.
We see how much it has been used throughout the month.
Yeah.
Right, in just amount of times or in total amount of hours, because also it gives you, typically you want to have like a high degree of utilization of usage to make sure that your investment, these assets costs money. You want to use them and maybe detect where can I save or where do I need to buy extra.
All right. Yeah, clear. And then we have another type, I would say, the condition sensors. How does this work and what do they track? What can you get out of it?
So these are sensors and they are, technically they are just pairing using Bluetooth. We pair them to the main smart tracker and then it's like a virtual extension of the tracker and you position them as well on the same asset or could be in the same trailer. It could be a temperature sensor, it could be humidity
like this
sensor.
example.
Exactly here, and then we can see while it's moving, you not only know the location, but you also know the state of the temperature, and you can configure warnings. You can see a lot of interesting information. And then when you combine everything, you combine, as we can see here in the screenshots. We have like alerts on temperature too high, but also alerts on maybe the asset is standing still for too long of a time, and then you have like your God view where you can start monitoring things in one central place.
Lucas will give a demo also about this feature a bit later in this webinar, so stay tuned, I would say. So we talked about the smart tracker, which is directly connected to the platform, to the internet, and then you talked about smart gateways that scan for nearby tags and sensors. So that's how it works. So we have two
exactly
types.
And the reason why we call it actually is because if you contrast, a smart tracker is completely independent, and if space and money would never be a constraint for somebody, you would always pick the smart tracker because it just gives you more data. But when you have less space to mount, or when you have maybe less budget for the value of the assets or the volume of the assets, then you would go for tags and smart gateways. Then you have what we call a dumb tag, which is there, but the smartness is in the gateway because that will capture the location of the tags and then transmit that to the platform.
Yeah, and we have two different types of gateways. I would say they are fixed or they are moving.
Exactly. Because the really scalable way to use it, if you want to analyze, is this something for me? Can I equip some zones of interest where I can put these scanners? Do I have the permission to put these there? And then you can know what is in these zones. So typically when you have closed loop transport between assets, you can know where it is, because when it's not in these zones, of course, you don't have any visibility, right? And then the other alternative is you can also equip your transport vehicles, and then maybe, for example, you transport your assets to your different customers, and maybe you have 100 customers, and then the smartness is in the tracker and in our platform where we can detect, it was last dropped off by that customer, and then you still know the inventory at your customers, you don't need to put any additional infrastructure over there.
About that moving smart gateway, we have Michiel is coming up right after Peter to talk about a very interesting use case that is about the moving smart gateway. So that's something to look forward. So to summarize, I would say smart gateway. You already mentioned most parts of it.
Yeah, and really important, we focus on a type of smart gateway where we make it as easy for the customer to deploy, which means battery powered is great. You can also have some power options if you want, if you can. And also the fact that you don't need any network or additional gateways is you can roll these solutions out without being dependent on the local IT infrastructure. So one less chance of failure, right? And again, also very configurable to get just the right data you need for your battery budget.
So a simple, secure, reliable solution.
Exactly.
All right. Thanks, Peter, for this, I would say, look behind the technology of the trackers. Now let's move forward to the next use case, which is presented by Michiel. So next up we have Michiel and Lucas. Michiel is the sales manager for Belgium and the Netherlands. Welcome, Michiel.
Thank you.
And we have Lucas, who is the technical sales lead within Sensolus. Now let's start with a super cool use case, Ampère. Can you explain a bit, Michiel, what do they do and what was their use case? What was the challenge they had?
Sure. So Ampère is a logistics service provider.
Okay.
They are owned by Bol,
Right.
which you might know. And they were established in 2022, so not that long ago, to make sure that the delivery process of the Bol partners is more efficient, more reliable, and more sustainable. So what they do is they place roll containers at the Bol partners.
Yeah, like the one that you see on screen, by the way.
Yes, you see
showing.
an example there. So the idea is that the Bol partners fill the roll containers with ordered products.
Okay, yeah.
And every day a driver of Ampère picks these roll containers and delivers them to the customers.
Right. So they're pretty big in Belgium and Netherlands,
yes.
maybe internationally. This doesn't sound a bell, but they're pretty big. And what is amazing about this use case is that the client said the collaboration was legendary, Michiel. And he referred to the fact that we were on site, we were in close contact. So what did you do with the client to make it legendary?
So first of all, we defined the scope of the project. So we need to understand what their real challenges are, because due to the growth of Bol and its retail network, they have a big number of roll containers circulating through the Netherlands.
Okay.
And this caused some challenges that were difficult to manage for them. So to give you an idea, they have around 8,000 roll containers in the field.
8,000, okay.
Indeed.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah.
And this caused a lot of challenges. And it was a very complex supply chain, and they needed an overview of where all these roll containers are.
Because if you look at the three key success factors, I would call them, we had the ease of use of installation, we had cost efficiency, and we had the almost real-time fleet monitoring, referring to what you just said. So explain a bit more about...
Yeah, the ease of use. So what they have done is they have equipped every roll container with a BLE tech, which emits a Bluetooth signal.
Okay.
And every driver has a mobile gateway, a phone.
So it's really a phone they have with them, so it's not something attached. No, it's really something...
It's no cabling, no wiring needed.
Okay,
and this gateway scans for the BLE tags.
Automatically, every time it's...
Every time.
Okay,
and this way we know where the roll containers are picked up and where they are left off. And they have a full visibility of where their assets are.
All right. All right. And they have almost real-time fleet monitoring, so it means they can log in and immediately see what is where. Almost real-time.
It's full automated inventory.
Yeah.
So they know if there are sufficient roll containers at the partners, if they need to pick up some at other locations, stuff like that.
Maybe referring to what Peter was just saying about the geozones, what Ampère did is they created geozones. Peter just explained that concept, and so you can always see when the assets left of entered a geozone or a location in this case. We can say it was quite a success, based on the quote by the client. It was they said that immediately all the roll containers were visible, so quite a success, and they can do more with less. I think that's a nice quote. They carry more deliveries with just the same resources. Yeah.
Indeed, in the past they had to buy new containers every time they got in times where there was high demand, and now they can fully allocate the containers on an efficient way.
All right, very interesting. Next is AB InBev, Lucas. I don't think we need to explain what AB InBev does.
I think most people will know the largest brewery in the world.
Maybe talking about their challenge. What is the challenge of AB InBev in this case?
What we did in Belgium with AB InBev is they have their own trailers to transport the beer from the brewery towards the retailers, distribution centra.
Okay.
And they work with third-party transport companies that will drive the trailers everywhere So they wanted some visibility on those trailers and how the third party was behaving and using them.
All right, so they wanted to have the optimized trailer usage, as you just mentioned.
That's a need. You don't want trailers to be standing empty, not being used.
All right, and next to that was also the digitized yard management and the insurance subcontractor compliance, what you already mentioned. How did they approach that?
Well, the yard management, that's typically, they have a large site, like the brewery, it's a large site where they will go in and pick up the beer. In the past, they had sometimes congestion, so too many trailers, too many trucks on the same place, and they want to make this more efficiently. And by monitoring them and making sure that the trailers that shouldn't stay on the parking are removed, they have this better yard management. They can also faster retrieve them because on our app they can quickly see where a trailer is parked and the driver can go and pick it up, not having to look for it for a long time.
And they also had a sort of a penalty system for subcontractors that were not compliant, so also thanks to the technology behind it.
They also have like areas where they can park and for a short period and other areas where they can park for a longer period and they can monitor that with our solution.
And there are some nice results because we saw, based on what the client said, there were more than, within 4 months, they achieved 15% optimization in trailer feed usage. So a nice example, I would say. Now, next one is referring to the condition monitoring. Also, Peter explained us a bit how this looks on the platform. But Lucas, maybe you can also take this one, DPD Fresh. What do they do and what is the use case?
It's again in Belgium, and they do like cold chain transport, like frozen goods and fresh foods. Typically the foods that you order and that are transported, and of course they need to stay within a certain temperature range. Otherwise, the foods go bad, and that's not what you want.
All right, that's indeed what the client said. He wanted to check the temperature regularly, so they can intervene proactively. And they can have a reliable monitoring system there.
You don't want some goods to be delivered and then see, they are spoiled because the temperature was bad. You want to see it immediately and take action when it's still possible.
Maybe it's an idea to have a really short demo of the platform, because we're talking about the temperature alert system earlier with Peter as well. Maybe you can explain us a bit how that works and walk us through in really quick what are the features and how it works.
Okay, I can show you something.
Let's take a look on your screen. In the meantime, also referring that they also did automated stock management and they got real-time insights on the platform. So let's take a look on your screen.
So basically, if you log into such a platform, you see on a map where all your trailers are located. But of course, this is more about monitoring of the temperature. So typically, they have two types of trailers. I can show you. So they have, in the refrigerated trailers, they have the trailers especially for frozen foods and the ones for fresh foods. So the frozen food ones, their temperature cannot go over minus 16 degrees. And for the fresh foods, it cannot go over 6 degrees. So you want a different kind of monitoring depending on which type of food you transport. So we defined two different alert rules to show the customer when the temperature is too high, depending on which use case they use it. So basically, you have an alert rule for the fresh foods and one for the frozen foods, and you see there that we configure a threshold, and if it goes above this threshold, they immediately get a notification via email, so they know that it's not going well. And as Peter was showing, we have also a dashboard to monitor this, so an alert dashboard, where you can see the current alerts that are going, and also historically the alerts, like how long it took to resolve them.
All right, no, thanks. Maybe switch to the US use case, because that's also an interesting one. Also for you, I think, Lucas.
Yeah, indeed.
What do they do? What was the challenge there?
So now again, another type of trailers. So these are chassis trailers. So these are typically the trailers you use to transport containers. Think the big sea freight containers. They come from a ship. They need to go to a client. Well, they put them on a chassis trailer to deliver them. And US is renting out these chassis trailers, and they wanted again more visibility on these chassis.
All right, so it's renting indeed the chassis and then get some visibility. So what they also did was predictive maintenance. So how would that work then?
So a trailer, it's like your car, it needs maintenance. If it drives farther, it needs maintenance earlier. So they use our platform to have insights in how often the assets are used, and based on that, do the maintenance. All
right. And also there were additional services they could bring to their clients.
Like the example is if a trailer has a flat tire, and someone needs to go there to repair it. It's someone from US that will go. Now with the app, they can immediately see where it happened and can go more quickly, and they offer this as an additional service, for example.
Right. And in the end, they got more transparency for their clients.
They also have insights in how often they are used, because there are also SLAs on how long or how far you can drive with the chassis tail for a rental period.
And again, referring to the reliability and the durability of the trackers and the battery life. So again, it's the same USP that comes forward again. Oegema is one for Lucas as well, and then for the last one we jump to Michiel again.
Well, I think we will leave Oegema for Michiel.
We leave Oegema for Michiel. Okay, are you up to it?
Yes.
Yeah. So explain me a bit more. What is the case about?
Well, Oegema is more like a traditional transport company. They are based in the north of the Netherlands.
Okay.
Already have telematic solution in the trucks, but they have a lot more trailers than they have trucks. Okay. Also forklifts and electric pallet trucks.
Okay.
They are mobile. They can be stored at external parking lots. They had a big of an issue knowing where every trailer was.
Yeah.
And that's where they when they contacted us to make sure that they got visibility on the trailer fleet.
They were saying that we save them about 4 hours a month in searching for the materials. So it's
So what happens sometimes is that drivers went to certain locations and that they had to look 4 hours to find the trailer back, and that's what they save now by using our mobile app.
All right. So summarizing it is eliminating the yard hunts. We can identify the trailers, so we can walk around with the app, search for your trailer, and optimize the rotation again for the
Indeed.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. They had a nice quote on that as well. It was that easy to install that the client even said, while he was laughing, that if I can do it, anyone can do it. But it's just to show how simply it is to mount the trackers.
Indeed, that was very important for them.
Yeah. All right. Last one, then Buzzworld is.
I will do that as
also
well.
Again, all right, getting there. So this is an example of how a yard looks like. I can imagine you have troubles in finding your trailer in that.
Yes, so maybe a quick word on Bos. They are the largest European dealer of second-hand vehicles.
Okay. Yeah.
They have in Veghel a big site, which you see here, where more than 4,000 vehicles are stored.
All right.
They used to have an outdated RFID solution which was not flexible.
Okay, so they had something in place, but we're not happy with it. Okay.
But because of their growth and the need of external sites, they wanted to have a more flexible solution, like our solution.
Yeah.
So what they have done is they have equipped on each key box that hangs on the vehicle, installed a tracker of Sensolus, and this way they know exactly where they are and how often they are being placed.
Yeah, also an example of how we were integrated in the existing RP system to make sure that these yard hunts, the trailers could be identified.
Yeah, because for example, when someone was interested in a vehicle, there were times with the other solution that they had to spend hours walking, where is that vehicle on our parking lot? And this is now not happening anymore.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys, for the use cases to explain them a bit. Maybe for the viewers, you can find all the content, white papers, podcasts, other videos on our website. So please go to the Knowledge Hub. Thanks for watching and hope to see you again in a later webinar. Bye-bye.